This is CTV News with Nafisa Karim.
Need that fire in our hearts to be able to do what is needed to be a voice for people like Laura.
A call to action and a push for stronger protections for victims of intimate partner violence.
They will say you maybe get 1% or 2% or 10% or 0% of the salmon for the year.
The potential changes coming to recreational fishing. Anglers hoping it won't sink business. Plus, Adam has an update on the story of the lonely Cowichan donkey who befriended a big yoga ball. Later on the Sawatsky sign-off. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Well over 100 people came together in Victoria today, pushing for better protections for survivors of intimate partner violence. The urgent call comes after the death of a Saanich woman, her ex-husband now charged with second-degree murder. CTV's Anna McMillan now on the changes advocates say must be made to the justice system.
When will violence against women stop?
A crowd stands before Victoria's courthouse calling for justice from a system designed to administer it.
We need to fight for change in the court system and to hold the courts accountable for putting children and women repeatedly at risk when there have already been signs and actual assaults that have happened.
Women's protection agencies are behind this rally, responding to Laura Gover's death. The business professor and mother of two was found dead in her Saanich home earlier this month. Her ex-husband is charged with second-degree murder.
Laura was someone who would have come to a community rally like this in support of others. And so to see community show up for her, both folks that knew her and people who didn't, I think just is really heartwarming.
Gover had a protection order. Today, there's a push for stronger consequences for people who breach conditions not to contact someone.
Whether that's in custody or under some sort of surveillance, instead of the onus being on the victim.
Statistics Canada says based on police reports, there were at least 117,000 victims of intimate partner violence across the country in 2022.
I'm feeling hurt, heartbroken, angry, and frustrated that changes have not already been made. It should have happened already.
Anti-violence organizations want an immediate boost in provincial funding for emergency services so people don't have to wait for help.
The gaps in our systems are not abstract policy questions. They are life and death realities for the people that we serve.
There's also a push to ensure police departments consistently conduct risk assessments for domestic violence files, triggering interventions if high risk is identified.
We heard calls today that I know are a priority for the Attorney General, things like risk assessment, things like making sure our systems talk to each other. This is the work we've got to continue to push forward.
MLA Grace Lohr notes the province has committed to implementing recommendations from a systemic review of the legal system's treatment of sexual and intimate partner violence.
We need to be loud for Laura. We need to be loud and angry and organized and showing up and reminding people that women's lives matter.
A call for action that advocates say could have protected Gover and will prevent future fatalities. Anna McMillan, CTV News, Victoria.
A Saanich teen who was seriously injured in a hit-and-run in Richmond last week says he will be heading home to the island today or tomorrow. 17-year-old Myles Mickey suffered broken bones and bleeding in his brain. He is currently undergoing treatment in Metro Vancouver. Mickey was in Richmond for a dance party earlier this month before he was struck by a vehicle after an altercation. The driver did not stop at the scene. Doctors told the family it could take a year for Mickey to recover. Video taken this week by his mother shows him up and walking around.
It's been insane. It's blown his whole medical team away because they weren't even looking to wake him up until like a week after they put him in the coma.
You know, I'm just glad to just make my comeback and see all my friends, family, everybody that's supporting me.
Myles says he is looking forward to coming home to see friends and family and plans to get back into playing basketball. We reached out to Richmond RCMP, who did not have an update on the case. Negotiations between Langford and Pacific FC over the use of the city's facilities appear to have stalled. The city of Langford says it will allow Pacific FC to use Starlight Stadium on a game-by-game basis for the upcoming season, as long as the fee for use is paid 2 weeks in advance. In September, the city said the club owed the municipality hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid bills. The city says despite its best efforts, the two remain divided on several key issues over the use of Starlight Stadium and the Island Training Center lease.
PFC is asking for more city resources to help with their operations. And while I want them here in the city, we have to look out for the residents and the taxpayers. It is a for-profit business. As much as we love our sports, they are all for-profit businesses, and we are very limited on what we can do to help them.
In September, the team said its financial commitments are being met and are part of active discussions with the city of Langford. CTV News reached out to Pacific FC for comment and did not receive a response before deadline. Canada's Department of Fisheries and Oceans has embarked on a review of its salmon allocation policy. That guides how harvests are distributed between industry, recreational fisheries, and First Nations. That has many in the recreational fishing community concerned, saying this could be the end of many livelihoods. But as CTV's Brendan Strange shows us, they're not going down without a fight.
Big changes could be coming to the recreational fisheries on the waters of BC, and it has anglers concerned.
Well, the government put out a notice to the public saying they're looking for public consultation.
Consultation on the review of the salmon allocation policy, which was adopted in 1999 by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. That policy acts as a guide as to how salmon harvests are shared among First Nations, commercial, and recreational fisheries. The change that concerns the president of the Sydney Anglers Association is the removal of the word common property, putting the commercial fisheries and First Nations in control of salmon allocation.
They will say you may get 1% or 2% or 10% or 0% of the salmon for the year.
In a statement to CTV News, the DFO says the policy review is a result of a 2018 BC Supreme Court ruling in a Houseit that found the policy was an unjustified infringement of 5 Nuu-Chah Nations' Aboriginal rights to fish and to sell fish. There is another concern from those involved in the recreational fisheries as well.
The circular is that they want to close during our main fishing season in the summertime. They want to close down all sport fishing.
Gary Cooper is the host of television's Nice Fish. His concern is the closure could come between Vancouver and Bamfield for the month of June, July, and August in order to limit the Chinook salmon catch, which is the only food source of the resident killer whale population. Cooper says that would be devastating to BC's coastal communities.
It's going to impact guides, lodges, marinas.
His list goes on and on.
That's a lot of people. That's a lot of dollars.
This Saturday, the BC Recreational Fishing Association will be looking to find a common voice in order to push back against these proposed changes. From 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., an open house will be held at Cowichan Exhibition Park.
There are people coming all the way from Alberta.
A catch recreational fishermen say could soon disappear if these proposed changes are implemented. Brendan Strain, CTV News, North Saanich.
The province has appointed a special housing advisor to help the district of North Saanich increase its housing stock. It's in response to the community not meeting its first year's housing targets set out by the province's Housing Supply Act. North Saanich delivered 12 out of 60 units. At a cost of nearly $50,000, the advisor will be on a 2-month contract to review policies and actions taken by the municipality and report its recommendations. North Saanich isn't the first to be appointed a special advisor. Last January, the province appointed a similar role for Oak Bay in an effort to increase housing numbers there.
After a high of 9 degrees, we've cooled to 4 at the harbor, 7 at the airport right now. Should see fairly similar temperatures over the next couple of days with some sunshine. The forecast is next.
CTV Weather brought to you by Expedia Cruises. Plan, book, and safeguard your journeys. Explore the possibilities at expediacruises.ca.
What makes West Shore Parks and Recreation a perfect place to play? It's our staff, working behind the scenes to keep the pool safe, kids engaged, and programs thriving. So apply today and join our team.
Well, Josh joins us now. You said it yesterday, and it came true. We are back down 4 degrees today.
Yeah, a little cooler than the past couple of days. That streak of double-digit daytime highs came to an end here earlier in the week. We'll be around average and maybe back to double digits one of the next 5 days, but it does look like we're going to settle back into this 7-degree range for the next little while. We're at 7 right now in Victoria after a high of 9. 3s, Comox, Port Alberni. We thought we'd start to see this fog break up already through the day today. That has not been the case. Fog advisories are still in effect, but I think as this system starts to work its way in, the ridge is breaking down, and that system should start to flush out some of the fog. So again, in Port Alberni, in Comox, where you're dealing with these fog advisories, there will likely be some fog through the morning hours, and maybe even out closer to the water around Comox. You're going to deal with fog possibly persisting into the afternoon, but there's some cloud cover starting to make its way in out ahead of that system. Most of the showers should stay offshore, but I think you might see a little bit of shower activity or some drizzle there in the north tomorrow, and then some clearing through the afternoon hours. It does look sunnier for most areas as we make our way into Friday. So tomorrow would be the one day where you're going to get some increased cloud cover. And again, there's that chance of showers or drizzle tomorrow morning. Some cool mornings, -2. And then up to about 6 for a daytime high, 6s and 7s for Friday, Saturday, with temperatures around the freezing mark in the mornings. Inland areas, fog patches, especially around Port Alberni. We should start to see the sun break through the clouds, though, I think tomorrow afternoon. High of about 4. Mornings 2 or 3 degrees below 0. So keep in mind, as you've got all this low-level moisture, roads could be awfully slick. You might have some patches of black ice on some of the roadways there tomorrow morning. Give yourself some extra time out there. 6 degrees and a mix of sun and cloud out on the west coast tomorrow. 8 and 7 for highs with sunshine for Friday, Saturday. Could see some rain roll back in Monday of next week. There's that chance of fog for Comox. 5 degrees for a high tomorrow. Again, you are looking at some degree or 2 below 0 morning lows for Thursday, Friday. Sunnier skies for Friday afternoon, and Saturday looks fairly sunny as well. In Nanaimo, morning fog patches, then some clearing in the afternoon. High of 6 degrees tomorrow, 5s for Friday, Saturday with mainly sunny skies, and that chance of a little bit of patchy frost through the morning hours Thursday, Friday. You might even see temperatures slip just slightly below 0 in Victoria tomorrow morning. Mixed sun and cloud tomorrow afternoon. Light wind and a high of about 7, which is right on par with the average for this time of year. 7 for Friday with some sunshine. Saturday, it's 6 degrees for a daytime high. I've still got 6s Sunday and Monday, although there's a chance we're maybe a little bit warmer than that as we head towards the end of the weekend and into early next week. CTV Weather is brought to you by Expedia Cruises for air, land, and sea vacations. So just more average temperatures and dry weather as well for the next few days.
I like how you said a little bit of patchy frost. It was very fun. Thanks, Josh. A day after the Prime Minister delivered a powerful and much acclaimed speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, U.S. President Donald Trump took to the podium to call Mark Carney out. With more, here's CTV's Mike LeCouture.
I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful.
The U.S. president with some tough talk for Prime Minister Mark Carney. It comes a day after the Canadian leader spoke in the same room at the World Economic Forum, criticizing superpowers that use tariffs as leverage.
But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
Donald Trump didn't say which statements, but Carney's speech urged middle power countries to act together.
When we only negotiate bilaterally with a hegemon, we negotiate from weakness.
Trump also said Canada gets a lot of freebies from the U.S., but it's unclear what he was talking about. Some Democrats say the comments about our country are unfair.
Canadians have followed us into every major conflict we've been in, whether we were right or wrong. This president has so disrespected them that they're now talking to China.
Carney wrapped up his trade trip to China and Qatar with a stop in Davos, but he didn't have anything to say about Trump's speech. In a statement, the Prime Minister's office told CTV News there are no plans to comment on the president's speech. The two leaders also didn't have any interaction while in Davos, which could be a good thing. according to this former special advisor on Canada-U.S. relations to then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Canada will be well served to have a more dedicated, specific conversation with the president or his team in the coming weeks and months, especially on the topic of CUSMA as we head towards a review deadline.
And there's little time to waste, as that deadline to decide what happens next with the trilateral trade agreement is July 1st. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
Today is Bell Let's Talk Day, and one of the key messages is if you're struggling, don't be afraid to reach out for help. But it's not always that simple. CTV's Andrew Johnson has the story of one heartbroken family and their message to others in honor of their son.
We're here at the BC Liberal headquarters in downtown Vancouver.
Long before he was a student journalist filing his first live hit, Hayder Nayani's mom knew he had a gift.
Since the beginning, I saw that public speaking talent in him.
Hayder's younger sibling, Saif, grew up wanting to be just like his big brother, who seemed to have it all.
He was the kind of person that you instantly wanted to be friends with.
Hayder was his Port Moody High School's valedictorian. He went on to earn an economics degree, a broadcasting diploma, and excelled in marketing and sales. But he didn't seem satisfied.
It was taken as he's a restless kid and he's an overachiever.
It would turn out those were likely early symptoms of mental illness. In his mid-20s, Hayder began to experience depression and was prescribed antidepressants. Last year, he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, started seeing a psychiatrist, and taking new medication.
I asked him to move back with us, and he didn't want to because he had an excellent group of friends, and they were very supportive.
A few months later, struggling, Hayder reached out to friends and family, then checked himself into the hospital. He was treated for several days, then discharged. Only a few days later, Hayder took his own life.
I lost my child there for that reason. The system failed him and I lost my child.
One of the hardest things about it is that he did everything right. He did everything he was supposed to do.
That's the thing, I can't understand that.
Despite their devastation and the perceptions of shame around mental illness felt strongly by many racialized Canadians, the Nayanis are speaking out in the hope of helping others in Hayder's name.
If you are struggling with mental illness and if you think it's depression, if you have any doubt, please get yourself tested for bipolar, because bipolar can easily go under the radar.
They are also creating a scholarship for journalism students at the BC Institute of Technology, passionate about advocating for the less fortunate.
So people who especially need, a voice, because that's one of the things that Hayder was really, big on.
And making sure his voice,
so it's a tight race, it's really close, and
is never silenced. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Coming up, Beyond the Ball, Adam has a happy update on a story about a sad donkey who played with a big ball. Next on the Sawatsky Sign-Off. Finally, Adam has an update on a story we first showed you in the summer about a sad donkey in the Cowichan Valley who discovered a happy hobby on tonight's Best of the Sawatsky Sign-Off.
When she first met this donkey, Michelle Singleton says he was depressed.
His name originally was Eeyore, which just kind of tells you he's a sad, lonely donkey.
Not only had his owner recently died, Eeyore had spent his whole life in a backyard by himself, which is detrimental for herd animals.
Yeah, he needs to be with other donkeys.
While Michelle waited for other rescue donkeys to arrive at her home for Hooves Farm Sanctuary, they renamed him Earl and set him up on play dates with other animals.
Which he didn't particularly care for, especially big pigs. He was like, who is this?
Well, if Earl couldn't play with someone, they wondered if the donkey might like to play with something.
The excitement was just pure joy for him.
Earl and his yoga ball were inseparable. The donkey transformed.
He just had the time of his life. It was so much fun.
Earl played with his ball for countless hours, day and night, for 2 weeks, until one morning Michelle discovered the donkey heartbroken.
His ball was deflated and he was trying to play with it.
After realizing Earl's ball was beyond repair, Michelle shared the donkey's dilemma on social media and eventually received donations of almost 40 balls from across the province.
It was like a kid in a candy store. This was like the greatest thing ever.
Well, even better, Michelle hoped, was the arrival of a trio of rescue donkeys. But Earl hadn't been around his kind since he was a baby and was awkward.
He really doesn't know what to do, what's acceptable behavior.
Although the trio tried to teach Earl how to be a donkey, he spent the next 6 months on the other side of a fence from them. Until just this week, when Earl changed his behavior, was finally accepted, and now shares the space with them.
It's just nice for him to be part of a family, and they can do donkey things together, so that's really exciting.
And after Michelle recently noticed a couple of the other donkeys playing with his ball, it's possible Earl could convince them all to form a ball team together.
This is the life we want him to have, and now he has it.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Duncan.
The Sawatsky Sign-Off, brought to you by Coastal Community Credit Union. Bank happy at Coastal Community Credit Union.
Sweet little Earl. Well, that is it for CTV News Vancouver Island. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night. Today on CTV News.
They should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
Donald Trump takes aim at Canada on the world stage, calling out Prime Minister Mark Carney. How is the Premier reacting? Also tonight.
I'm extraordinarily disappointed that Mr. Brewer used that language yesterday.
Backlash against a high-ranking RCMP officer for comments he made about a wave of extortion-related shootings. And
do you remember the last job you had before showbiz?
Yes, the old spaghetti factory.
Oh, yeah!
From humble beginnings to heated rivalry, BC-born actor Hudson Williams' rise to fame takes him from the old spaghetti factory in New West to global stardom.
This is CTV News with Nafisa Kareem.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Breaking news to start us off, and Surrey police and BC's police watchdog are investigating a crash involving a stolen vehicle that sent one person to hospital. Dimitra Margos is following this in the Breaking News Center. Dimitra, what do we know?
Nafisa, we're still gathering the details, but here's what we know so far. This all unfolded around 5:30 this morning. SBS spotted an allegedly stolen F-350 Ford pickup near 88th Avenue and Holt Road. Now, moments later, Ford hit a Honda Accord at 88th and 128th, and a person riding a motorized scooter who suffered life-threatening injuries. They were rushed to the hospital. The driver of the Accord was not seriously harmed. Police say the driver of the Ford ran off and has not been found. Now, the Independent Investigations Office has now launched an investigation working to figure out whether the police's action or inaction played a role in the collision. Now, we reached out to the IIO to see if there was a pursuit by officers, but they say at this point in time, they cannot release any more information. Nafisa?
Okay, thank you. Donald Trump lashed out at our Prime Minister today after Mark Carney's provocative speech at the World Economic Forum yesterday. Now, Premier David Eby is coming to Carney's defense. Our Penny Daflos is here, and Penny, Trump's comments caught a lot of Canadians off guard.
That's right, Nafisa. His comments on Canada and Carney were only part of his remarks on the stage in Davos, where he repeatedly talked about Iceland when he evidently meant Greenland, and then complained that Carney is ungrateful.
Great powers have begun using economic integration as weapons. Tariffs as leverage. Financial infrastructure as coercion.
I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark.
Those comments shocked many Americans as well. Now we're starting to hear from Canadian leaders and how they're responding, including Premier David Eby, who described hearing Carney's speech with relief and pride.
There is no question but that the Prime Minister's speech will have trade consequences in terms of our relationship with the United States. But those trade consequences are minimal compared to the larger term consequences of giving up our sovereignty.
Coming up at 6, Eby's suggestions on spring break travel and new info about the next time he'll be meeting with the PM and his Premier colleagues, Nafisa.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
Well, the wave of extortion-related violence sweeping through Surrey has forced the mayor to call the situation a crisis in need of federal help. Mayor Brenda Locke is calling on the public safety minister to appoint a commissioner for extortion. She says the city has faced 35 reports this year. This comes a day after the RCMP assistant commissioner repeatedly declined to characterize the wave of extortion-related shootings as a crisis. Both Mayor Locke and the premier were left shocked and questioning if he's fit for the position of head of BC's anti-extortion task force.
I'm extraordinarily disappointed that that Mr. Brewer used that language yesterday. It showed that he had no touch point with what's happening in Surrey.
If Mr. Brewer does not feel that urgency, does not feel that this is a crisis, then perhaps he's not the right person to head up this task force.
Late this afternoon, John Brewer apologized for challenging the term crisis. In a statement, he says this was not his intention and it has instead impacted public confidence. Brewer says extortions remain one of their highest priorities. The public hearing into the death of Myles Gray heard police dispatch audio today. Gray died in a violent fight with 7 Vancouver police officers in August 2015, and he can be heard on the recordings of radio dispatches from officers involved. CTV's Ben Milger has more, and a warning: some viewers may find portions of this report graphic.
The 7 Vancouver police officers involved are the only surviving witnesses to the violent brawl that left Myles Gray dead, and their police radio dispatches are the only documentary evidence of what transpired over a period of about 10 minutes in a Burnaby backyard. The Office of the Police Complaints Commissioner has not released the recordings, but at its inquest, the BC Coroner's Service did. Constable Hardeep Sahota was the first officer to arrive that day and quickly called for backup when she found the muscular Gray to be aggressive and threatening. Moments later, Constables Corey Folkestad and Eric Burznek arrived, and Folkestad told dispatch Gray had gone up a wooded slope into the backyard.
He's gone up into housing here, 8375 Joffrey. We're with 6-3. We're just going to go up there and not challenge.
In announcing it would not pursue manslaughter and assault charges against the officers involved, the BC Prosecution Service said contradictions between officers' accounts in key areas are incapable of resolution, so it could not determine a coherent narrative of events. Only the officers themselves know what actually happened in the secluded backyard, but the dispatch recordings reveal the level of tension and conflict as the violence unfolded.
Charlie 6-3. Have him here. He's not in custody though. 10-4, you have him, however, he's not in custody.
4 additional officers would soon arrive. When the brawling stopped, Gray was handcuffed and had his feet bound. He would go into cardiac arrest, lose consciousness, and eventually be pronounced dead in the yard. In a strange turn of events during the afternoon session, all of the lawyers involved, there are 13 of them, met behind closed doors without the media or public allowed in. Whatever happened took the entire afternoon, and none of us on the outside were told what transpired. But Thursday's session has now been canceled, and this public hearing will reconvene on Monday. Ben Milger, CTV News, Vancouver.
West Ham Island in Delta is still largely cut off from the mainland after a barge collided with its bridge last night. The wood has ruptured on one side of the bridge while the main section appears out of alignment. The bridge is operated by TransLink and is being assessed for damage. West Ham Island is home to major farm businesses, a couple hundred people, and a wildlife conservation area. Right now, vehicles are not being allowed on the bridge, but it is open to pedestrians.
For those of us that are trapped over here,
we're trapped. And I mean, there's businesses here, there's a tree service that can't get out to look after its customers because all their equipment is here. All of their staff's vehicles are also trapped on the island. They all walked across and had their wives and so forth pick them up last night.
Lots of us have responsibilities outside of the village of Ladner. And I'm in a position where I'm going to have to rent a car tomorrow morning because I've got things to do.
It's going to be tough for the farmers to get their produce across and for selling. There's a few people on the island who have to go to work every day, so that's going to be put on hold for a while. I just feel bad for everyone on the island.
The city is providing a shuttle service for those walking across. The bridge will remain closed to vehicles tomorrow and Friday and possibly longer, depending on the damage. After the break, how a Made in Canada show about rival hockey players falling in love has catapulted a BC-born actor onto the world stage. But first,
here's a chance in front. Pollock shoots, he scores. Wide open.
Hard to find the bright side unless you're on Team Tank. The Canucks are winless in 11 games, a streak not seen since the 80s. The Rinkside Report is next.
The Rinkside Report, brought to you by
CapitalDirect.ca. Let's make your vision a reality with Capital Direct. Call and talk to our team today.
It simply can't get worse, right? The Vancouver Canucks are firmly in last place in the NHL standings. Their winless streak has now reached 11 games. Things are so grim, some are calling it one of the darkest stretches in franchise history. Here's CTV's Kevin Chirac with this week's Rinkside Report.
Loss.
Ricochets over, and they scored.
After loss.
Well, it's tough. Yeah, nobody likes losing. Obviously going through a pretty tough stretch right now.
Artem Zub scores.
A tough and historic stretch.
Mark Messier.
A streak that has now surpassed the infamous Mark Messier-era Canucks, who lost 10 straight in 1998. The longest winless streak in franchise history dates back to 1973, when goalies looked like this.
So what we're witnessing right now is uncharted territory, and by the numbers, this would suggest that this is the darkest days of Vancouver Canucks hockey.
But in Vancouver sports history, still well short of the Vancouver Grizzlies' losing streak of 23 games set during the 95-96 season. Back on the ice,
Sherwood drag move and scores.
The Canucks shipped off fan favorite Kiefer Sherwood Monday to the San Jose Sharks in exchange for 2 second-round draft picks and a minor league defenseman.
I wish, obviously, nothing but the best for this organization moving forward, and I know no matter what people feel, like the organization is going to benefit from this with the picks and whatnot.
Kiefer Sherwood was an unrestricted free agent, so those are par for the course trades. You see NHL teams that are out of the playoffs trade those sorts of players all the time. The question now becomes, how deep are they going to go at this roster in trading out veteran players who still have contract term remaining?
More moves are expected before the March 6th trade deadline as the team looks to acquire draft picks or younger talent. For now, head coach Adam Foote is preaching resilience.
We want to park it, move on, be resilient, and focus on our game.
Kevin Chirac, CTV News, Vancouver.
The Rinkside Report, brought to you by Capital Direct.
CapitalDirect.ca.
One of the breakout stars of the red-hot series Heated Rivalry worked and went to school right here in Metro Vancouver, and his former colleagues and acting instructors have been blown away by his overnight success. 9 months ago, Hudson Williams got that customary pie to the face during his final shift at the Old Spaghetti Factory in New Westminster. After years of waiting tables, the Kamloops-born actor landed the role of Shane Hollander in Heated Rivalry, a series made by Crave, which is owned by CTV parent company Bell Media. The show was picked up by HBO Max and instantly became a worldwide phenomenon, catapulting the 24-year-old to super stardom. His former colleagues have been watching with awe as Williams shouted out the restaurant on Jimmy Fallon and presented an award alongside his Heated Rivalry co-star at the Golden Globes.
He originally had planned to come back after the shooting, and then all of a sudden, you know, he's walking the Golden Globes. It was absolutely crazy seeing him and how big he is, what seems like overnight, basically.
But he will always be a spaghetti factory waiter.
100%. Yeah, we call him Spaggers. I would hope, because he's still mentioning us, especially on shows like Jimmy Fallon, I would hope that he would still be able to remember us here.
Well, still ahead, we've got some floofy felines looking for a home, including one named the Big Lebowski. And later we'll show you what happened when an escaped parakeet flew into an Ontario elementary school classroom. Plus, Anne's forecast is next.
For tonight's Sky Watch, at calm waters of Coquitlam's Como Lake under clear blue skies.
CTV Skywatch is brought to you by Kermac Collision and Autoglass, the name you'll remember when it matters. Kermac cares for kids.
We can see the city poking through the fog there, Anne, and this fog is sticking around. When's it going to go?
Well, hopefully by tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, a great shot there, as you can see. Blue skies above, fog below, all thanks to this ridge of high pressure. It's trapping all that moisture in, and that will continue as we head into tomorrow afternoon. So the fog advisory has been expanded into tomorrow. That's for the inland sections and eastern Vancouver Island, Sunshine Coast, as well as Metro Vancouver. As the ridge weakens, that's when we're going to see that fog really leave us along the south coast. So here's a look at our weather tracker as we head through the overnight. Some clearing into tomorrow morning. We'll start off foggy again. A few breaks here and there, but then it does cloud over, and it's not until tomorrow night that ridge moves its way through, and then we'll see clearer conditions as we head into Friday. For the southern interior, mostly sunny skies tomorrow from Kamloops right down to Surrey, with temperatures between 0 and 4 degrees. You'll see a high of -4 for Cranbrook under mostly sunny skies. For the central interior, mostly cloudy conditions, highs to -7 along the coast for Bella Coola. Mix of sun and cloud with a high of 6 degrees for the northern half of the province. A few scattered showers for Massett, 5 degrees. Other than that, dry with a mix of sun and cloud for Dees Lake and Prince Rupert. Mostly cloudy skies for the northeast corner of the province. For the North Island, overcast conditions for Port Hardy, 6 degrees. 5s under sunny breaks for Campbell River and Comox. For the South Island, you're looking at mostly cloudy skies for Tofino right down to Nanaimo. A few clouds for the southern Gulf Islands and Victoria. For the Sunshine Coast, mostly cloudy skies. 5 up the Sea to Sky Highway. You'll see 6 degrees with some sunny breaks. Cooler in Whistler with a high of 1. And for us across the lower mainland, it doesn't matter once the clouds clear, because we'll see mostly cloudy skies tomorrow with temperatures between 4 and 6 degrees. But it's looking nice and bright for Friday. A few clouds for Saturday and Sunday. And Monday, we'll see overcast conditions with a high of 5 degrees.
It's a nice looking weekend, Anne.
Yeah, not too bad at all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Time for Homeward Bound, our weekly segment where we introduce you to furry friends from local rescues looking for their forever home.
Yes, and here are some cats from the Vancouver Orphan Kitten Rescue Association, also known as VOCRA.
Say hello to Steele, also known as the Big Lebowski. This 7-year-old charmer has a calm and affectionate personality. He loves greeting visitors and short bursts of play, followed by a few long naps by your side. Steele is very food motivated and would do best with a family who can help keep his weight in check.
Adorable. And this bonded pair is double the trouble in fun. 3-month-old kittens Fluff and Spots are a dynamic duo who are looking for their forever home. Fluff is described as a purring machine who is 80% fluff and 20% kitten. Spots is a ball of energy who loves to play but is always down for a snuggle afterwards. Come on.
Last but certainly not least, Mini Me. This cuddly 4-month-old girl is full of personality, loves being around her people as much as possible. When it's time for a snack break, don't worry, she'll be quick to remind you with her squeaky voice. Minnie would thrive in a calm and quiet home without children or dogs, and it would be a bonus if her owners are home for a good portion of the day.
Adorable, Minnie. And for more information, head to vocra.ca.
Thanks, Anne.
You're welcome.
Well, after the break, an elementary school classroom gets disrupted by an escaped parakeet. Plus, meet Veronica, and she's such a clever cow that scientists were itching to study her closely. We'll introduce you to this brilliant bovine as CTV News at 5 continues. Taylor Swift has set another new record, now becoming the youngest person ever to secure a spot in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. The 36-year-old was announced among the list of artists in the Hall of Fame's 2026 class. Along with big names like Alanis Morissette and Kenny Loggins, the induction ceremony will be in June. Archaeologists have discovered the world's oldest cave art found to date. These handprints in a cave on the island of Sulawesi were made by blowing pigment over hands placed against the cave walls, leaving an outline. They've been dated back to at least 67,800 years. That makes them the oldest rock art ever studied. It's not clear if the prints were left by humans or an ancient subspecies called Denisovians. Now with a preview of CTV News at 6, Mi-Jung Lee.
Nafisa, political fallout from comments made at a news conference about extortion violence. The RCMP Assistant Commissioner denied that the extortion crime wave was a crisis. Surrey's mayor not happy about that, and the premier had a blunt message for the high-ranking Mountie. And Mark Grant has been charged in Vancouver with sexual assault with a weapon, unlawful confinement, and other offenses. We'll tell you about his connection to a high-profile Manitoba murder more than 40 years ago, and why the city of Vancouver is rejecting a living wage policy, the wage it's aiming for instead. I'll be back at 6. Nafisa?
Thanks, Mi-Jung. A cow with a unique skill is now at the center of an utterly fascinating study. Plus, an escaped parakeet lands in a kindergarten class. CNN's Jeremy Roth has today's Take a Look at This.
A newly published study starring a very clever and very itchy cow can only be described as utterly fascinating. Look, people, if you don't like cow puns, you might just want to move along. The study was inspired by Veronica, a cow in Austria whose owner observed it for years, picking up sticks and using them to scratch hard-to-reach places on its beefy body. Researchers with the University of Veterinary Medicine in Vienna saw video of Veronica's scratchy solution and decided to milk it in a series of experiments using a broom, which the team says Veronica not only picked up and used, but varied her use between the smooth handle and the rough bristles based on where on her body she was scratching. The findings, published in the journal Current Biology, suggest not only was the crafty cow displaying true tool use, behavior only previously observed in humans and chimpanzees, but her displayed preferences and adaptability with the tool is evidence of highly intelligent decision-making, which raises the stakes of this bovine belly-scratching study even higher. In Canada, a classroom was the scene not of a study on animals, but instead an animal interrupting studies when an escaped parakeet flew into a kindergarten class and even landed on a teacher. That's according to a Facebook post by the St. Noel Chabanel Catholic School in Ontario, which shared images of the colorful parakeet perched in various places in the classroom before being corralled and taken to the front office. Named Snow, the bird was eventually returned to its rightful owner, but the school later said, from classroom visits to office hangouts, we sure had fun spending time with Snow during her visit. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
We got some more critter news.
Yay.
Move over, Air Bud. There's a new basketball star on 4 legs. Scooby completed a flawless 360 dunk during halftime at the Denver Nuggets game last night, blending canine agility with some undeniable basketball flair. Turns out the Nuggets could have used some help from this little chihuahua as they ended up losing to the Lakers. Can Lucy do that?
No, he's a Nugget. Come on, adorable. All right, let's take a look at our scenic snapshot tonight. A fabulous photo of the fog in Surrey. Thanks, Tim, for sending this one in. And we want to see your scenic snapshot as well, so email us at scenicsnapshot@ctv.ca.
Mi-Jung will be back for CTV News at 6. Right now, here's Sandy Ronaldo with CTV National News. Have a great night.